Welcome to the Calm the Storm, the Whimsy podcast, where we explore transformative ideas and practices from Kent and Heather McKean's The Metanoia Method.
In each episode, we'll dive into key concepts from the book, discussing how we can apply these insights to our daily lives and foster deeper connections with ourselves and others.
As we go through today's discussion, we invite you to think about how these concepts apply to your own life. Let's dive into our discussion.
All right, so we're talking about Chapter 7, Our View of God. I'm just going to be real honest right now. Chapter 7 and 8, I'm struggling, and you guys are going to see some crank.
Which is funny because I struggled with 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Actually 6 specifically, but 5 I was okay with.
I think 8 might be worse, so next week, just beware. So what stuck out to you guys in Chapter 7? I highlighted the very first sentence, the way you view God will eventually show up in the way that you live your life.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think about the way we view our life on a day-to-day basis and say, that's a reflection on how we view God, like what, is that something that we feel good about or not? If we're feeling fearful or stressed or anxious or worried or frustrated or angry, and that to me is saying like that's a reflection of how we view God.
Yeah.
And how you ultimately live
Your life. Yeah.
Yikes. I got lots of changing to do. I'm a very stressed individual.
You? No.
No.
What else stuck out to you?
Well, I have that underlined as well with a star.
Yeah.
I mean, no better way than starting out with that quote.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, seriously? Wow, this just starts the entire stage for whatever this chapter is going to bring.
Yep.
Because now, yeah.
Yes. So if we go to page 112.
Yep.
I mean, this is pretty intense to read, but I'm going to. Being sexually abused as a child was a gift from God, my client said confidently. Without it, I would have never been able to reach as many women as I have reached. It's my ministry. I couldn't possibly heal the hurt. It's what keeps me... Nope, did I skip it?
Nope.
No, I didn't. I couldn't possibly heal the hurt. It's what keeps me going. Who would I be without it? I wouldn't be able to relate to any of the other women who have been through it. Now I can share with them what a gift their abuse was.
Oof.
And then their response was, I shuddered, partly because of the compassion I felt for this woman and partly in shame. Shame that I used to believe a similar narrative about myself and worse, about God. So when I read that, a couple things happened. I thought, how many times have I said, well, I'm glad I experienced this pain because now God can use me in other people's lives, which is not a bad thing, I don't think, to want to use things we've been through to help other people, but like wording it as it was a gift from God.
No.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting part about that is how we use it. So we it's not a gift.
No.
It is definitely a sin from the fall.
Not
the
from
sin
God,
that's happening in the world. This is not from God.
Yeah.
This is an effect of something that happened at the fall that created these situations to become. So definitely not from God, which also makes my heart break for specifically in this situation, a woman who has experienced something that she shouldn't have experienced. Then taking that and saying it's a gift from God, which is hard to even think that that's even possible to fathom that would be a gift.
Right.
And then you can absolutely use your story to glorify God in everything that you do, but not as like the gift.
Right.
And then you teach people.
Yes.
What happened to you was a gift from God.
No.
And that's the taught. That's the piece that she was teaching is like, this is a gift from God to all the women who have ever been abused or anything happened.
And then how are they supposed to view God? So it sucks. I've been through something similar. So this is God did this to me? Right. This is a gift from him?
This is a gift.
Yeah.
No,
honey,
no. But God can heal you from the hurt that you've been through and fill that void of that hurt from the pain that you've suffered. And he can use it.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely not like given to you. Well, here's this for you. And you get...
In this scenario...
You win the lottery and you get sexual abuse and they're gifts.
Yeah. No. But I think what rubbed me the wrong way is how often have you heard someone say, or even said yourself, well, I'm glad that I had that miscarriage because now God can use me in someone else's life. Like, I don't know, like it just rubbed me the wrong way because we say things just like they fly out of our mouth. Like even if we don't mean them the way that we're saying
we
them.
don't even know what we're saying.
Yeah. Like
the impact of which you're saying, I'm thankful that this happened in my life.
Yeah. No.
I'm thankful that I'm saved by Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that gift. But like, wow.
Like he can make beauty from ashes.
Absolutely.
He can use what I went through for me to have compassion to someone else. Yeah. But we just get trained to use this verbiage that is dangerous.
Yep. That's exactly where I went.
Yes.
I miscarried twice and it stunk. And I'm like, well, maybe this is just... supposed to use this.
Yeah. Like, I think we've said that to each other.
It's terrible.
But it's because it's what has been ingrained into us. Like,
no, this actually just sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. Yeah. And it wasn't how can that be part of God's plan? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we can use it, but it sucks. Like,
yeah. Again, it goes back to just we live in a broken world. Bad things are gonna happen.
We live in a fallen, broken, sinful world, and these things don't come from God. They come from the reality of a broken world.
Yeah, and He can make good come from anything.
Yes,
but it wasn't a gift.
No, no gift.
The way we view God is distinctly shaped not only by our upbringing, but also by our religious affiliations. That is neither bad nor good. It just is. I think it could be bad.
So, in my upbringing, I was taught to fear God and don't do that. If you do that, you're going to go to hell. Don't do that. Oh, that's not good. Like, it was always this punishment thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to be punished by God. And if I do this, this will happen. And that's because God did that because I did this. And that's not the way it is at all.
Yeah.
So the view of God for me has changed over the years. Because before I was like, oh gosh, I better not do this or this is going to happen. And it's not like that.
Yeah.
He's a loving God, not...
But it's interesting because going back to that very first quote here where it says the way you view God will eventually show up in the way that you live your life. Mm-hmm. And so your view of God in the past, from what you're saying, was evident in how you were living, right? Mm-hmm. Like the fear of making a decision that was not... the right one could ultimately choose your demise. I mean, for you, and it's like, those are hard truths to not to pull out that aren't, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you pull those out and break them out?
Yeah. So I think that the older that my kids get, it helps me to have a different view of God too, because if they go through things or make bad decisions, there should be a healthy fear of their parents, right? Like a respectful fear, not like I'm terrified of you fear. Mm-hmm. And I think that we were taught like a terrified fear of God, not a respectful, healthy fear of God. And so when they come to us with things that we would have probably been terrified to go to our parents with, not because they were bad parents, just because of how we viewed God and how we viewed authority and how we viewed doing something we shouldn't do. Like for me as a parent, I look at my kids and I say, okay, there's consequences to a bad choice. There are.
Right.
Always, right?
Yeah.
But I will not shame you. I will not make you feel like terrible about yourself. I will not make you feel like this affects your relationship with God, where you're going to not be able to make it into heaven because you made a bad choice and didn't fix it in time. I'm going to love you through this. I'm going to walk through it next to you. I'm going to guide you. I'm going to give you healthy consequences, and I can still be kind and loving through it all. And I think that's actually how God functions. Like, there are consequences. We have to be held accountable. We have to have a healthy fear and respect for God, but like, that's just not what we grew up with.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I can think of one scenario in my life where I actually thought that I could possibly be like punished by God. Like one specific scenario. My mom made it very clear that God could smite me at any moment. And I was
He could what?
Like smite me, like smitten, like take me out, like in any moment, which I mean, he has the power to do. So like he could do that if that was a choice of his to do. I don't believe that that's how he shows up now. Old Testament for sure.
Yeah.
But we were in church and I was allowed to sit with my friends, and it was during communion, and I chose to spit spitballs at the people in front of me and throughout the entire congregation, like that was around me.
How old were you?
I was like
yesterday. This was
15.
yesterday. I'm just kidding.
And it was just interesting to me because the moment that happened. So listen, I didn't think anyone saw me. I didn't think anyone like was watching, but my youth pastor saw us. There was like 5 of us in this row. He didn't know anybody except for me. And he wrote my mom, this is how, like, wrote my mom a card.
Oh, boy.
And was like, this is what Crystal was doing during church. And she was like, do you know that, like, you were in communion and God could, like, take you out, like, right then? And I was like, what? And I was like, this, like, awe of, like, no way. And so I was just like, when I hear about, like, this fear of God and, like, this awe moments, I'm like, I always think back to that. Because I'm like, my mom put the fear of God in me, like, he could take you out. And I'm like, oh gosh, like, don't spit spitballs, guys, during communion. Any other time it's fine, but during communion, don't do it.
That's
and
like,
I wasn't allowed to sit with my friends
ones
anymore.
Over here.
Right? Her, right there.
Oh my
gosh. And I don't say that to be like, I don't fear God. But like, that was like a moment where I was like.
But you weren't on a regular basis taught to fear God.
I was not.
Like in the same way.
Correct.
As us.
And so that was like that fear was like.
Well, she did say he could take you out in the moment.
She was like serious, like referenced like Old Testament, like, did you watch Lot's wife?
Oh, looked back.
And she turned into a pillar of salt. And I was like, oh, geez, like this is real. And she's like, don't you think for one moment that he can't do that now? And I was like,
your nightmares.
So yeah, that was.
Wow.
Never spit a spitball
Mama,
again.
I bet.
No way. I'm kind of scared just thinking about it.
Different kind of fear.
So I don't know, this is jumping ahead, but like the biggest thing in this whole thing for me was the victor versus the victim mindset. But I don't want to jump too far if you have something.
Oh, I have a couple things before we get there.
Okay.
I have a few things too.
All right.
But I have a lot to say about all of the victim-victor things.
Oh, boy. Okay, so you go first.
So on page 114, this is just something that, like, stuck out at me, so I'm just going to read it. There are about 100 billion neurons, like folders, files in a human brain, which is insane, which is about the same number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Our unconscious mind has a bunch of filters that delete, distort, and generalize external events that we see, hear, feel, or read about. What? Those are the categories that we put those things into. 3.
It's crazy.
3 categories. And all of those files, we either delete it, it's not worth it. We distort it because we heard it or felt it wrong. Or we generalize it as just being,
I probably have a lot of distort files in my
That's
brain.
insane.
Your files are distorted
Oh
for
my
sure.
goodness.
Distort folder full. Distort folder full. You must delete some of these so you can put more in the distort folder.
When you delete them, where do they go? What folder?
Get the Mac wheel of death, like that rainbow.
It's like
wheel.
iCloud is no longer backing up the distort file.
It cannot take on any more what is it? Neurons in your brain. Can they stop?
That is so me. I'm a distorter.
It's just kind of weird that those are the 3 categories that we take external events from seeing, hearing, feeling, or reading about. They go into those 3 categories. Nothing else.
I'd love to know how many things I've actually distorted in my life. Like everything.
I would say like 90% maybe. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I was kidding. Only if it feels like somebody's
distorted.
upset with you. All that stuff's distorted. I like the next part too. It says the interesting part of this is that what equals reality, in quotation marks, comes from our own personal programming, which makes it subjective. This is so huge. We can argue it all we want, but research shows that what we think is real is only an outward projection of what we hold within.
Oh, no.
We need to give her coffee more often.
Oh, yes.
Dang.
Yes.
This is crazy.
It was a lot. This is a big chapter. And so I felt like this was like
Mind blown.
mind blowing.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Distorts
like that emoji. There's no delete folder. They're just gone.
We should all figure out what our emoji is, like what our brain emoji is.
Oh, that would be fun.
But let's go back to 100 billion neurons in a human brain. Like, if that doesn't tell us that we have a God who created us, like,
What does that even mean? Like 100 billion neurons.
yeah,
Like
the intricacies of like how he created our body, it could only come from a creator. It is amazing.
we did not evolve.
Yeah.
Like we cannot give that credit to anybody else or any animal out there. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yes.
Whatever that looked like, no way.
And at the risk of being controversial, anybody who thinks that we have evolved, it's in your distorted file folder. Just saying.
Pull it out. Delete.
Kelly's smacking her forehead.
I have a lot of things I need to delete.
I can't help but read all these stories because this stuck out to me too. When I was little, first of all, Dibby.
I thought it said Diddy. I just looked down.
Oh, no.
What's a Diddy in this book?
You just distorted this girl's name. It's
Sorry, Dibby.
Dibby.
That's a whole nother podcast, guys. It told me a story about her cousin who had a dog, just a mutt, and the dog was pregnant. I don't know how long dogs are pregnant, but she was due to have her puppies in about a week. She was out in the yard one day and got in the way of the lawnmower. This is terrible. And it's not funny. And her 2 back legs got cut off. They rushed her to the vet, who said, I can sew her up or you can put her to sleep if you want. Aww. But the puppies are okay. She'll be able to deliver the puppies. Dibby's cousin said, keep her alive. So the vet sewed up her backside, and over the next week, that dog learned how to walk. She didn't spend any time worrying. She just learned to walk by taking 2 steps in the front and flipping up her backside, and then taking 2 more steps and flipping up her backside again. She gave birth to 6 little puppies, all in perfect health. She nursed them and then weaned them, and when they learned to walk, they all walked like her.
Wow.
So if there's nothing else as a mom that sticks out to me, it might be this, like,
Oh, my poor children. They have a lot of distort files in their brains.
that's why we're reading this book, so we can help our children.
They can move them.
Yes. They can transfer.
Delete. Drag the whole folder. Delete. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that this is comical because I was afraid it wasn't going to be. Okay, but that's a powerful illustration. It says that right here. Powerful illustration, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, if we have a view of God that will eventually show up in our lives, we will do what he does, correct?
If we have the correct view of God.
If we have the correct view of God. That is powerful.
Yes.
We have potential to do that.
Yeah.
To follow our Heavenly Father because there's just so much in this. So clearly we follow our parents, or in this case, the children follow, or the dogs follow the mom dog and how she walked. So we follow our parents and our kids follow us and how we behave and how we walk, meaning whether we're following God or not. Mm-hmm. And so if we're following, there's just so much there, powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. This subconscious and conscious mind, I don't. It says most people don't even acknowledge that their subconscious mind is at play, when in fact it is 1,000,000 times more powerful than their conscious mind, and that we operate 95 to 99% of our lives from subconscious programs.
Yep.
That's no good.
Distort.
It's crazy to think about. It does actually hurt my brain.
It hurts my brain.
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay. As a child grows and continues any form of religious education, they are exposed to many and varied ways of conceptualizing God. With every new learning or observation, the child's brain revises its God definition and view. When this person becomes an adult and hears that they should trust God as a loving and nurturing father, they may find they are unable to truly understand what that means. There is an inability for this individual to make that kind of intimate connection to God, not by conscious choice, but by the primal drive to remain safe. As they keep God at a distance on a subconscious level, consciously, this only confirms that they are inherently unlovable even by God. So I double highlighted the next couple lines.
What page is that on?
117. Intellectually, they may read the Bible and hear otherwise, but their internal programming keeps playing the old records and revisiting the foundational beliefs, and that programming, unless changed, will always win. So there's a couple things here that I would love to do differently for my children. Not in comparison to that was done for me, but just from what I've learned. I want to teach them and guide them. But there's so much of my programming that is still wrong because I revert back to the old ways, the old fear creeps in and the worry creeps in, and those God, this was a gift from God lines creep in, and the Christianese talk where you say what you've always been told, even if you don't actually believe it, even if it doesn't even make sense. So I've started to think about this. And when my kids are struggling with gossip or anger or sin, instead of, and literally this just like hit me today, instead of me just saying like what first comes out of me, because I'm afraid right now, a lot of it is what I was programmed with. It just comes out of me. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
I love it so much. Kelly, move the microphone. Let's tell him so you could take a drink of your water and try to talk to a microphone from across the room. Anyway, because it just literally like these words, it's just like, what do you call it? Help me.
Like the loop or the...
Yeah, but like it's just like, what do you call it when it's just programmed in you and you just do it without even thinking about it? I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but
sure. Repeat.
Yeah, like just this stuff flows out of us where I could see myself saying, if my kid goes through something hard, well, maybe this was God's way of being able to use you in the future. And I don't even think that. Like,
right.
So what I want to say to them is, listen.
Because we feel like it's the right thing to say in the moment.
Yes.
For some reason, we say bizarre things that we don't actually even understand.
Or God wouldn't approve of that. Or, which is, it could be true, but is that what I want my kids' first thought to be? God wouldn't approve of that. So I was thinking, it's just easy to do. We think we're guiding them in the right way, but really, do we believe half the things we're programmed to say and think ourselves? Old things creep up in me in certain scenarios where I'm like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And then I'm like, but wait, I don't actually think it's bad, so why do I feel this way? So I started to think about it. And when they're struggling with something, instead of shooting out like what comes to my mind right away, I just want to say to them, that word is all over the Bible. I want you to go look it up. I want you to read scripture about it. I want you to decide what you think the Bible says about it and then come back and talk to me. Because I don't want my kids to think that they know certain things about God's word just because they were told.
Right.
Instead of finding it out on their own.
Yeah. Yep. I still want them to talk to me about it.
You know, it's interesting because when you say that, that also gives you time
to process,
to go back and say, okay, what do I
actually believe
know about this?
Yeah.
What does the Bible say? Not the repeat loop of what you've been told. You've been taught or told, or all of us. I mean, most of the things that we've been told, like, don't do that because this is going to happen, or is not actually biblical.
Right.
Most of the things are not even in the Bible. Where did they even come from?
Right.
Like, it just puts fear and anxiety and stress into situations more than it actually helps the situation. So by you saying like, hey, go find this out for yourself. Number one, I mean, it says in the Bible to search out your faith with fear and trembling. Yeah. And so to know that, to know what God says about that, but then you have an opportunity to be like, okay, what I wanted to say or what was going to come out of my mouth might not have been what I wanted to come out of my mouth. So now I have time to think about what I want to come out of my mouth.
Right. And maybe I still don't even know.
Right. Because how many times have we been in situations where our kids come up to us and say something and then we just spout off a response because it's just the first thing that comes to our head. And then you think about like, oh, I probably should have handled that differently.
Right. Yeah.
Even in any situation, but like specifically spiritual situations.
Yeah. I just don't want them to grow up and someone have a conversation with them and them say, well, why do you believe that? Well, because that's what my mom told me, or because that's what I learned in church. Like, I could be right, and what they learned in church could be right. But why do they believe what they believe? I want them to know.
Yes.
Like,
what does it mean to them?
Yes.
Well, and I think that's true, too. You want them to have their truth, their spiritual truth that they can talk about and discuss and know.
Yeah.
Versus just being like, oh, well, this is the answer.
Right.
And I was told this.
And this is not a knock at like our parents.
No.
At all. Like it's just, this is what this is what they grew up in. And then that's what we grow up in. And then until we all removed ourselves from it. Like, I think my mom would even say she struggles so much with certain things because she was programmed a lot longer than we were.
Yeah.
And she's come out of some of it too, but still she says things. So I hope she doesn't care that I give this example, but we always believed you could lose your salvation. You could lose your salvation. You could lose your salvation. And she walked up to my car the other day and she said, my favorite song right now is the Hallelujah song that Jelly Roll and Brandon Lake sing together.
Okay.
What's that song? Something.
I'll look it up while you
Okay.
keep talking.
So she's at my window in like the car pickup line at school and she's like, I love that song. And I'm like, you love Jelly Roll? And she's like, it just surprised me.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, like everybody's saying like he's had like a dramatic life change and he became a Christian. And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. If that's, I hope that's true. He's working with Brandon Lake. That's probably really good sign. What was it?
Hard fought.
Hallelujah. Yeah. And like, that's what I said. And then her immediate response was, well, I just hope he stays that way. And I looked at her and I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh man, like
She knew.
yeah. So like even for her, it just flew right out of her because that's what we've always been programmed to think. And if I wasn't there to say, but wait, I thought we didn't believe that anymore. Like that you can just lose and walk away and have your salvation gone just like that. And she's like, well, so like it's easy to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Kelly, this reminds me of what you just said.
What?
Back to the subconscious mind.
Oh.
It does not have the ability to reason, be logical, or rationalize. It simply outputs whatever has been stored within. But there's got to be, I'm sure we'll get to it later in the book, ways we can replace what's there, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully there's an answer for us, or we're in trouble.
I'm doomed.
All right. Anything else before we get to all Kelly's victim versus victor stuff? All right. What'd you want to
Go,
share?
girl.
Page 119.
Man. Well,
You said you wanted to skip ahead.
I did, but I'm trying to figure out where I was at now.
She's like, I needed to skip ahead when I was ready.
All right. So in the book, it talks about in situations in your life, you can either be the victim or the victor. So you can either be the victor, which means conquer, or the victim. What? Or you're the one that's conquered.
Yes.
So where do you guys fall in that?
Can you be in the middle? I feel like it depends on the situation for me. I'm a little bit of both.
I'm in trouble, guys.
I'm probably too prideful.
So you're the victor.
I'm a victor, yeah.
You're a victim.
I'm a victim.
And this time I can't
But
choose.
it's weird because I feel like my mom is always a victim too. Now I'm a victim. So I need to break the change so my kids aren't always feeling
So
like
it's
a
a
victim.
learned process,
Yeah.
essentially. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what we've been talking about the whole
Yeah.
time is that the mentality in which we live life is a learned process. And so, like, if your mom falls into that victim category, that's
You learn to walk
ultimately
like-
that's how you're going to learn to walk. Yeah. And vice versa. So like, I feel like I was, so it's interesting because my mom comes from a very broken family. And she would say that she was rescued from that by Jesus. So pulled out of the pit in that scenario of family life. And therefore, was victorious. And so has this like story of redemption of like, I'm not the victim. I'm not going to take this victim mentality because I have power in Jesus. And he pulled me out of this mess because it's a mess. And so that was the beginning of like having that victor mentality. Could have been a victim for sure, but was out of that. So then my sister and I grew up with her being our biggest cheerleaders of like, Victor, you're not a victim. No one here takes advantage of you. You are on, like, you got this. And like literally like poured that into us in a different sense. So not necessarily spiritual, but how we lived life was just, and spiritually, obviously spiritually, she drove us in that way too. But in general, the way that we lived was like as if we couldn't be conquered. Like we were the conquerors. And so like, that's how I have that, like that mentality of like feeling the victor side. Can I be a victim? Absolutely. Do I? Sometimes. If I'm going to pick a one or the other, I'm going to fall into the victor, but I can be a victim. It feels really good sometimes to be a victim. So, I mean, I know, I understand that.
What is my answer?
You're both.
I'll tell you what. Victim moving towards victor.
Really?
I do. I see it. And I love what I'm learning about the two of you. Because this book has like opened my eyes to where you come from, like your perspective. We're like best friends. I knew that you were from a Nazarene church. I know all of the things that you guys grew up with, but not until I read this and like our conversations have I realized like, oh, this is deeper than just like, this is a lifestyle. Like, this is a lifestyle that is hard to get out of. Like, you had these things poured into you. And so how do you change that and move that? And so, like, it has helped me to, like, see how you make decisions, why you make decisions the way you do, the fear that's there, the anxiety, the stress, those types of things. But I see the change. Like, I see that in both of you. And so I feel like you don't want to be there.
No. And I feel
know
like
you
I was
don't.
getting out of it, but then I slipped back in.
And I think it's easy. I think that's easy because it's your go-to, right? It's comfortable, even though it's probably not comfortable, but like comfortable to be settled there, because when you have to fix things, no one wants to fix the things. And then I see in you, Hillary, I see the fear is there, but you have made the bridge to like, okay, I'm not going to be a victim in this situation, but in this situation, I might be a victim.
In this situation, I still get to be.
Right. I'm choosing to still be in this because it feels good.
Yeah.
It makes me comfortable.
Yeah.
So I recognize that.
There is so much in this chapter that we're never going to get to.
No.
I know.
Because it was so many good things. So everybody needs to read it because we haven't even got.
Oh my goodness. Like, I mean, I just start here and I have.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I've got a lot in here too.
I would say
It's a large chapter.
maybe is there one more thing we should each want to share?
One thing that like really stuck out.
Yeah, and everybody else needs to get the book.
There's so much stuff. Well, the thing with the whole victim thing, it's like, why do I continue to want to live this way? I don't want to stay the victim. And I want to be healed from all of that. So if God did what he did, why am I stuck here? Like, I need to get out of this. So,
yeah. More to come.
Well, actually, I wrote this here. So let's see. Okay, so this is about the guy who was at the pool with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so it talks here a lot about how does he want to be healed? Does he not want to be healed? Basically, do you have what it takes to choose to be healed? So he says here, he needed to watch his thought patterns and processes as to not fall into the old ones that kept him sick, stuck, and stalemated. And I wrote here, and Kelly, you just said this. So I wrote, this is a state of mind. How easy is it to fall back into a victim state of mind? It's so easy. Mm-hmm. I also thought it was cool how it says here that the victim mindset is the power outside of us. So it's all of the things outside that we listen to. And then it said that the victor, what was it? That the victor is the power inside of us to make all of those. Like the environmental things are making the decisions for you. And then the victor is the internal things that are making them.
Yeah. So you can either be in control or it can be everybody else's fault. Mm.
We needed like a few episodes
just for this chapter. I know.
This is like a huge. So I had this written down. The victor lets things roll off their sleeve. The victim, things will eat them to the core. Mm. And I will find myself like just randomly focusing on something that doesn't even matter. Like, why am I focusing on this?
And it eats me alive. You alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll close with this. Jesus says, "Do you want to get well?" Jesus slices through the fluff and searches the heart. Do you really and truly long to be healed? To the average reader, this seems like the dumbest question in the world. Who would want to stay sick? But isn't that the same question Jesus poses to each of us, asking us to follow him? We have to want it and do something about it.
Thank you for listening to a production from Family Simple Media and the CSW Podcast. Follow, like, and subscribe at CSW Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I didn't even have that underlined, just so you know.
You're just that good.
No. You just read the right story about Diddy.
Diddy and his puppies. Wow.
No more coffee for you, actually.
Right okay, so I drank coffee because these two think I fell asleep during one of our podcasts, and I didn't.
Think. You guys will have already heard it by this point, I think.
Everyone will know.
Coffee at 10 o'clock at night, so we'll see how this goes for the rest of the night.